Introduction. The modern world has become a sophisticated machine for hijacking human attention and manipulating our neurological reward systems. Every moment of our waking lives presents an opportunity for digital interruption, whether through the insistent ping of notifications, the hypnotic pull of infinite scrolling feeds, the carefully curated cliffhangers of streaming services, or the scientifically engineered appeal of processed foods. Our environment has evolved into a relentless assault on our dopamine receptors, each stimulus carefully crafted to maintain our engagement and dependency. While these instant gratifications provide momentary satisfaction and the illusion of reward, they systematically undermine our capacity for sustained focus, genuine discipline, and lasting contentment. In response to this crisis of overstimulation, two complementary approaches have emerged as powerful antidotes. The first is the dopamine detox, a deliberate practice of temporarily abstaining from highly stimulating but ultimately unfulfilling activities that provide instant gratification without lasting value. The second is the cultivation of what has been termed the monk mindset, drawing inspiration from centuries of monastic wisdom that emphasizes discipline, mindfulness, and intentional living as pathways to deeper meaning. When combined, these two approaches create more than just a temporary respite from modern chaos. They establish a comprehensive framework for reclaiming mental sovereignty, developing unshakable self-control, and realigning one's entire existence toward authentic purpose and meaning. This exploration delves deep into how the strategic combination of dopamine detoxification and monastic principles can transform not merely our habits but our entire relationship with pleasure, productivity, and purpose. Rather than offering another quick fix or temporary solution, this synthesis provides a sustainable methodology for living with greater clarity, intentionality, and inner peace in an age designed to scatter our attention and fragment our focus. The science of dopamine and modern overload. To understand the necessity of a dopamine detox, we must first comprehend the fundamental role dopamine plays in human behavior and motivation. Dopamine functions as a crucial neurotransmitter within our brain's reward system, orchestrating our drives toward both survival necessities and achievement goals. However, contrary to popular misconception, dopamine's primary function is not the delivery of pleasure itself but rather the anticipation and pursuit of potential rewards. This distinction is critical. Dopamine motivates seeking behavior more than it rewards obtaining behavior. Each time we engage with social media platforms, consume sugary foods, or compulsively check our devices, our brains release dopamine in anticipation of the reward, creating powerful behavioral patterns that become increasingly difficult to resist. In the context of human evolution and natural environments, this dopamine-driven reward system served essential survival functions, motivating our ancestors to seek food, shelter, and social connection despite the effort required. The rewards were naturally limited and required substantial investment of time and energy to obtain. However, our contemporary environment has been deliberately engineered to exploit these ancient neurological pathways. Sophisticated algorithms analyze our behavior patterns to deliver precisely timed stimuli. Advertising agencies employ neuroscience research to maximize product appeal, and entertainment platforms utilize variable reward schedules that mirror the addictive mechanics of gambling. This creates an unprecedented situation where our brains are subjected to a constant barrage of dopamine-triggering stimuli that require minimal effort to access. The consequences of this chronic overstimulation extend far beyond simple distraction. When dopamine pathways are repeatedly activated by high-intensity, low-effort rewards, the brain undergoes adaptive changes that reduce receptor sensitivity. This phenomenon, known as tolerance, means that activities that once provided satisfaction gradually lose their impact, requiring increasingly intense stimulation to achieve the same neurological response. Simultaneously, Activities that provide more subtle or delayed rewards, such as reading, deep conversation, or creative work, begin to feel insufficiently stimulating by comparison. The result is a vicious cycle where individuals find themselves compulsively seeking quick dopamine hits while experiencing diminishing returns and growing dissatisfaction with activities that once brought genuine fulfillment. Understanding the dopamine detox. The concept of a dopamine detox represents a strategic intervention in this cycle of overstimulation and diminishing satisfaction. It's crucial to understand that a dopamine detox does not literally eliminate dopamine from the brain, which would be both impossible and potentially fatal given dopamine's essential role in basic motor function and motivation. Instead, the practice involves deliberately abstaining from activities that trigger excessive dopamine release without corresponding value or effort, allowing the brain's reward system to recalibrate and restore sensitivity to more subtle and meaningful sources of satisfaction. The core principles underlying an effective dopamine detox center on distinguishing between high-reward, low-effort behaviors and activities that provide genuine value despite requiring greater investment. The former category encompasses the usual suspects of modern distraction: compulsive social media checking, binge-watching entertainment, consuming processed foods high in sugar and artificial flavors, engaging with pornography, mindlessly browsing the internet, and playing video games designed to maximize engagement through variable reward schedules. These activities share common characteristics of providing immediate neurological reward while contributing little to long-term well-being or personal development. In contrast, a dopamine detox encourages engagement with activities that may initially feel less stimulating but provide deeper satisfaction and genuine value. These include practices such as reading physical books, engaging in meditation or contemplative practice, taking walks in nature without digital accompaniment, journaling thoughts and experiences, having meaningful conversations, creating art or music, and simply allowing oneself to experience boredom without immediately seeking stimulation. The temporary discomfort of reduced stimulation serves a vital purpose, creating space for the brain to reset its baseline expectations and rediscover appreciation for simpler pleasures. The practice also deliberately cultivates tolerance for boredom, recognizing it not as an empty state to be avoided but as a fertile ground for creativity, self-reflection, and genuine rest. In our hyperconnected age, the ability to sit with oneself without external stimulation has become increasingly rare, yet it remains essential for psychological health and creative thinking. Research consistently demonstrates that boredom, when embraced rather than immediately escaped, leads to increased creativity, better problem-solving, and deeper self-awareness. The philosophy and practice of the monk mindset. While the dopamine detox addresses the neurological aspect of modern overstimulation, the monk mindset provides the philosophical and practical framework for sustainable transformation. Across diverse spiritual traditions, from Buddhist monasteries in Tibet to Christian contemplative orders in Europe, from Hindu ashrams in India to the philosophical schools of ancient Stoicism, certain common principles emerge that define what we might call the monastic approach to living. The concept of detachment stands as a cornerstone of monastic philosophy, though it is often misunderstood in popular culture. Detachment does not mean emotional coldness or withdrawal from life but rather freedom from the compulsive grip of desires and aversions. Monks cultivate the ability to experience life fully while maintaining an inner equilibrium that isn't constantly disrupted by external circumstances or internal cravings. This detachment allows for genuine engagement with life from a place of choice rather than compulsion. Discipline forms another essential pillar of the monk mindset, manifesting through structured daily routines, regular practices, and consistent adherence to chosen principles. This discipline is not punitive or harsh but rather liberating, creating a framework within which genuine freedom can flourish. By establishing clear boundaries and consistent practices, monks free themselves from the constant burden of decision-making and create space for deeper pursuits. The discipline of rising at a consistent time, maintaining periods of silence, engaging in regular meditation or prayer, and following structured routines creates a rhythm that supports both productivity and peace. Mindfulness, perhaps the most widely recognized monastic practice in contemporary culture, involves maintaining conscious awareness of the present moment without judgment or resistance. This practice extends beyond formal meditation to encompass all activities, transforming mundane tasks into opportunities for presence and awareness. Whether washing dishes, walking, or engaging in conversation, the monk mindset approaches each moment with full attention and acceptance, finding richness in experiences that might otherwise pass unnoticed. The cultivation of purpose represents the ultimate aim of monastic practice, aligning one's life with values and meanings that transcend personal pleasure or immediate gratification. This doesn't necessarily require religious belief but does demand honest examination of what truly matters and the courage to organize life accordingly. Whether focused on spiritual development, service to others, creative expression, or the pursuit of wisdom, the monk mindset insists on living deliberately rather than drifting through existence driven by impulses and external pressures. The synergistic intersection, the true power emerges when dopamine detox and monk mindset principles are combined into a unified approach. Each practice addresses limitations in the other, creating a comprehensive system for transformation that is greater than the sum of its parts. A dopamine detox without the philosophical grounding of the monk mindset risks becoming merely a temporary intervention, similar to a crash diet that produces short-term results but fails to create lasting change. Without deeper principles to guide behavior once the detox period ends, individuals often find themselves quickly returning to old patterns of overstimulation and distraction. Conversely, attempting to adopt a monk mindset without addressing the neurological reality of dopamine dysregulation in modern life can lead to frustration and failure. Even the most sincere commitment to mindfulness and discipline can be undermined by a brain that has been conditioned to crave constant stimulation. The overstimulated mind struggles to find satisfaction in the subtle rewards of contemplative practice, making sustainable change extremely difficult without first addressing the underlying neurological imbalance. When combined, these approaches create a powerful feedback loop of positive change. The dopamine detox clears away the neurological static that prevents deep focus and satisfaction, while the monk mindset provides the structure and meaning that makes the cleared space valuable rather than simply empty. The detox reduces cravings and restores sensitivity to subtle pleasures, while the monastic principles ensure that this renewed sensitivity is directed toward meaningful pursuits rather than simply different forms of distraction. Practical implementation strategies. The practical application of combining dopamine detox with monk mindset principles requires careful planning and gradual implementation. The first step involves conducting a thorough audit of one's current stimuli and habits. This means honestly examining which activities dominate your time and attention, identifying your personal dopamine traps, whether they be specific apps, websites, foods, or behaviors. The key question to ask is which activities provide immediate pleasure but leave you feeling empty or dissatisfied afterward, and which contribute to long-term well-being and alignment with your values. Beginning with a structured detox period, even starting with just 24 hours can provide valuable insights and initial neurological reset. During this period, eliminate access to your identified dopamine traps, including social media platforms, processed foods high in sugar and artificial flavors, digital entertainment, and any other sources of easy, instant gratification. Instead, engage only in activities that require effort and provide subtle rewards, such as meditation, journaling, exercise, reading, or spending time in nature without digital devices. As you progress through the detox period, Begin layering in monk mindset principles to create sustainable structure. Establish consistent wake and sleep times, regardless of external pressures or internal resistance. Create morning and evening routines that bookend your day with intentionality and reflection. Simplify your environment by reducing both physical and digital clutter, removing unnecessary possessions and applications that serve only to distract. Develop a regular meditation or contemplation practice, starting with just 5 or 10 minutes daily and gradually extending as your capacity for stillness grows. The integration of purpose requires deeper reflection and cannot be rushed. Take time to examine your core values and long-term aspirations, considering what you would pursue if freed from the need for constant stimulation and social validation. This might involve career changes, relationship adjustments, or commitment to service and creativity. The key is to ensure that your daily actions align with these deeper purposes rather than being driven by momentary impulses or external expectations. Following the initial detox period, the challenge becomes sustainable integration of these principles into daily life. This doesn't mean permanent abstinence from all pleasurable activities but rather conscious, intentional engagement with chosen stimuli. Gradually reintroduce selected activities, but with clear boundaries and mindful awareness. Practice digital minimalism by using technology as a tool rather than a source of entertainment, engaging with social media only at designated times for specific purposes, and maintaining periods of complete disconnection. Living the integrated approach. A typical day lived according to these combined principles might unfold as follows, though individual variations should reflect personal circumstances and preferences. The morning begins without immediately reaching for a phone or device, instead opening with a period of silence and stillness. This might involve 20 minutes of meditation, focusing on breath or bodying sensations, or simply sitting in quiet awareness. Following meditation, time is devoted to journaling, capturing dreams, expressing gratitude, and setting clear intentions for the day ahead. A cold shower serves as a physical practice of discipline while promoting alertness and presence. Breakfast is consumed mindfully, focusing on simple, whole foods eaten without distraction. The working portion of the day emphasizes deep focus and single tasking, with notifications disabled and attention fully devoted to the task at hand. Regular breaks involve movement and fresh air rather than digital distraction, perhaps walking outdoors without headphones, allowing the mind to wander and process. Lunch continues the pattern of simple, nutritious eating with full attention to the experience of nourishment. Afternoons might include focused creative work or learning, reading philosophical or spiritual texts that provide deeper nourishment than quick entertainment. Time is allocated for physical exercise, whether yoga, weightlifting, or martial arts, approached as practice in discipline and presence rather than mere physical maintenance. Evenings prioritize genuine human connection, whether through meaningful conversation with loved ones or service to community, followed by reflection on the day's actions and lessons learned. The day concludes with a consistent sleep routine, avoiding screens for at least an hour before bed and perhaps ending with gratitude practice or gentle stretching. The transformative benefits. The benefits of successfully integrating dopamine detox with monk mindset principles extend far beyond simple productivity improvements or reduced screen time. Enhanced focus represents one of the most immediate and noticeable changes, as the mind freed from constant stimulation develops the capacity for sustained attention and deep work. Tasks that once felt impossibly boring become engaging when approached with full presence and freed from the comparison to high-stimulation alternatives. Emotional regulation improves dramatically as the extreme highs and lows associated with dopamine-driven behavior patterns give way to a more stable emotional landscape. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless, but rather developing the capacity to experience feelings fully without being controlled by them. Anger, sadness, joy, and excitement all remain present but lose their compulsive quality, allowing for conscious response rather than automatic reaction. Resilience against modern temptations grows stronger with practice, as the combination of neurological reset and philosophical grounding creates genuine immunity to manipulative design. Advertisement loses much of its power when desires are examined rather than automatically pursued. Social media's variable reward schedule becomes transparent and less compelling when you've experienced the deeper satisfaction of focused work and genuine connection. Perhaps most significantly, this integrated approach cultivates genuine inner peace, not as an absence of challenge or difficulty but as a stable center that remains accessible regardless of external circumstances. The constant craving that characterizes modern life gradually gives way to contentment with present experience, while still maintaining healthy ambition and growth orientation. Purpose and meaning replace the endless pursuit of the next dopamine hit, creating a life of genuine fulfillment rather than momentary pleasure. Navigating challenges and obstacles. The path of combining dopamine detox with monk mindset principles inevitably encounters resistance, both internal and external. Boredom presents one of the most immediate challenges, as the mind accustomed to constant stimulation rebels against periods of low arousal. Rather than viewing boredom as suffering to be endured, the integrated approach recognizes it as valuable training and a gateway to creativity. Monks across traditions have long understood that boredom, when embraced rather than escaped, becomes a teacher that reveals the mind's patterns and opens space for genuine insight. Relapse into old habits is not a matter of if but when, and the key lies in response rather than prevention. Each return to compulsive behavior provides valuable information about triggers and vulnerabilities, serving as a reminder rather than a failure. The monk mindset's emphasis on non-judgmental awareness allows for acknowledging lapses without self-punishment, simply returning to practice with renewed understanding. Social resistance often proves more challenging than internal struggle, as friends and family may not understand or support changes that challenge social norms. The discipline required for this path can appear extreme or antisocial to those embedded in conventional patterns. Maintaining compassion for others' perspectives while holding firm to personal principles requires delicate balance and clear communication about boundaries and values. The danger of extremism lurks on both sides of this practice, whether through excessive indulgence or punitive restriction. The middle way, emphasized in Buddhist teaching but relevant across traditions, reminds us that sustainable transformation comes through balance rather than extremes. The goal is not to become an actual monk, unless genuinely called to that path, but to integrate monastic wisdom into engaged living. Contemporary relevance and cultural context. In our current era of attention warfare, where trillion-dollar companies employ armies of neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists to maximize engagement, the practice of dopamine detox guided by monk-like discipline represents more than personal development. It becomes an act of rebellion against systematic manipulation. We live in unprecedented times where human attention has become the most valuable commodity, harvested and monetized through increasingly sophisticated means. Contemporary thinkers and researchers increasingly converge on similar conclusions about the necessity of deliberate attention management. Cal Newport's concept of digital minimalism, Jay Shetty's popularization of monastic wisdom, and neuroscience research on habit formation all point toward the same fundamental truth. Conscious control of attention equals freedom in the modern world. The explosion of interest in meditation, mindfulness, and digital detoxing reflects growing awareness that our current trajectory is unsustainable. The scientific literature increasingly supports what contemplatives have long known. that practices of restraint and mindfulness produce measurable improvements in well-being, creativity, and life satisfaction. Studies on meditation show structural brain changes that enhance emotional regulation and attention. Research on technology use reveals clear correlations between excessive screen time and anxiety, depression, and attention deficits. The evidence mounts that our ancestors' intuitions about the value of discipline and contemplation were remarkably accurate. Yet implementing these practices in contemporary life requires adaptation and creativity. We cannot simply retreat to monasteries, nor should we completely reject the genuine benefits of modern technology. The challenge lies in conscious integration, using ancient wisdom to navigate modern challenges while remaining engaged with the world rather than escaping from it. Conclusion: the path forward. The combination of dopamine detox and monk mindset offers more than a temporary solution to modern problems. It provides a comprehensive framework for reclaiming human agency in an age of unprecedented manipulation and distraction. The dopamine detox serves as the reset button, clearing away the neurological debris of overstimulation and restoring the brain's capacity for satisfaction in simple pleasures. The monk mindset provides the operating system, offering principles and practices that sustain clarity and purpose long after the initial detox period. Living according to these principles does not require abandoning modern life or adopting extreme asceticism. It does not demand a monastery, religious conversion, or complete disconnection from digital technology. What it does require is something simultaneously simpler and more radical: the courage to step away from the endless stream of manufactured desires and align life with genuine meaning and purpose. In a world that profits from distraction and thrives on dissatisfaction, choosing discipline over impulse represents a revolutionary act. In a culture that equates worth with productivity and success with consumption, embracing stillness and simplicity becomes profoundly countercultural. In an age where attention is constantly pulled in countless directions, developing the capacity for sustained focus and deep presence offers a competitive advantage that no technology can replicate. The path forward is not about perfection or permanent abstinence from all pleasures. It's about conscious choice, deliberate engagement, and the cultivation of wisdom in how we direct our precious attention. It's about recognizing that true freedom comes not from having unlimited options but from having the discipline to choose wisely among them. It's about understanding that lasting satisfaction emerges not from chasing ever greater stimulation but from developing the capacity to find richness in simplicity. As we navigate an increasingly complex and stimulating world, the synthesis of dopamine detox and monk mindset provides a beacon of clarity. It reminds us that despite all technological advancement and social complexity, the fundamental human challenge remains unchanged: how to live with intention, purpose, and peace. The tools for meeting this challenge have been refined over millennia of contemplative practice and are now supported by modern neuroscience. The only question that remains is whether we will have the courage and discipline to use them. In essence, the dopamine detox clears the mental static that clouds our judgment and fragments our attention, while the monk mindset fills the cleared space with practices and principles that promote genuine flourishing. Together, they offer not just an escape from modern chaos but a way to engage with contemporary life from a place of strength, clarity, and authentic purpose. In choosing this path, we reclaim not just our attention but our fundamental humanity in an age that seems designed to scatter and diminish both.